welcome back to Religion Pigeon Podcast. I'm Day.
I'm Isaac.
And I'm Seda. We are here today with our special guest, Joel Elliot. I'm personally really looking forward to hearing what Joel has to say about religion. Joel and I have known each other a very brief time from work, but in that time, we've had lots of conversations, I think, about religion already, and just about life. So that's why I thought that you'd be a good candidate for this. But I don't know. I learn more and more about Joel and like all my other coworkers every time I work with them. So who's to say who Joel really is?
We just don't know.
We'll never be able to know.
And that's why we're here.
That's why we've gathered here today.
Who is Joel?
Who is Joel?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah, so you're from Logan. Yeah, you grew up in Logan.
Oh, you're from Logan.
I was
Okay,
born in the house that I live in now.
Wow. Like
You lived in the same house your whole life?
Yeah.
I actually
like
didn't know
home
that.
birth. Like
Dang.
yeah, first breath. I was in there.
Home birth
Yeah.
is crazy statement.
Dude. Okay.
Give us more of a religious introduction to Joel. Say that, please.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to dive more into that. But basically, from what I understand, you said that your family, I believe, is still affiliated with the LDS Church. Yeah.
That's correct.
Okay. I guess our whole angle with this podcast is kind of getting people to expand on their own beliefs and how that has been affected by where they live, by who they're surrounded by.
Yeah.
You know, Swetha.
Yeah.
And so, like, we're also having her come on after, and we're gonna, because she like, I don't know if you ever talked to her at work, but like, she's doing like, she told me like her whole conversion story, so she's gonna bring that here. But something like that, kind of just like what's like formed your perspectives on like whatever religion means to you, like what you believe, whether that's similar to your family's things, or like if you want to start like from where like I guess your religious beliefs started like differing from that of your family.
So I held, same religious beliefs when I was younger, probably about until 12. And it was most, LDS things. But there were some complications that were kind of fun. I was homeschooled, which is something that is common in the LDS religion. So I got to go to homeschool groups, and another piece that's kind of fun that kind of gets into that, and I say fun, I didn't enjoy it, but it's an interesting, they're really authoritarian. And as a kid, I would go over to these groups, and they handed me like the Constitution, and
That's crazy.
I couldn't even read.
Bro, yeah, they're like, get this in your brain.
Yeah, so it's kind of interesting because not only the Mormon religion, but then on top of that, this authoritarian and homeschool kind of dynamic also comes into the belief.
Yeah. Were you like around like kids your age that kind of felt the same way, like they didn't like being controlled like that, or like in that environment, or like did that not really play into your own perspective? I
would never be brave enough to even talk about if I enjoyed it or not. It would just be a given that I did. I wouldn't be able to go against the grain.
Yeah.
Okay.
And not from outside pressure, but that's just my personality.
Yeah, just like go with the flow.
Yeah.
So I guess now, I mean, negative influences and positive influences upon that, how would you define religion for somebody?
For somebody in general?
Like, yeah, if you had to, not necessarily your own, but how would you define religion? Do you think religion is something that kind of gives people, like, helps them to shape their values, or is it vice versa, they're shaping their values around what they're taught to believe?
I think both are possible. I think the reason someone might want to join or stay in a religion is, one, you want to believe the doctrine, whatever that might be for the religion. And also, if all your neighbors are in the religion, maybe you think, okay, these guys are in it, maybe I'll go with them. And then you get kind of this community within the religion. So even if you don't necessarily fully believe everything, you don't have to. You get something from that by the community. And of course, the community is going to shape your values because you're in that in-group. Mm-hmm. And of course, you're gonna gain your own values as well. You're gonna figure yourself out a little bit.
Yeah, I definitely think that's part of it. Like for me, like that was a big reason, like why my family, because I know my family is like a little bit less strict, I guess, on like church rules and things like that. And but that's like one of the main reasons that we stayed in it is because of like the community, and like my family enjoys that, like having kind of like living vicariously through other people's like testimonies and like what they believe, and like hearing how the experience of like having that ritual of going to church every Sunday is like impacted their life. But so I guess aside from like people, what other like outside sources do you think have like shaped your beliefs? Because I know I think we talked about that like a little bit, like maybe like you have like the other podcasts that you listen to or whatever, or like the YouTube videos or something.
Okay, yeah, you're right. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, like something like.
So when I was about, I want to say 16 or so, maybe even older, I was on YouTube and some atheist video came on, and I thought, okay, this is kind of interesting to see kind of different point of views. And I ended up not liking his content, but he kind of fractaled out into other people, and I did enjoy their content. And it was on, of course, atheism, and then it went to philosophy, and then it went to kind of the idea of religion. Religion for Breakfast is my favorite right now. He's an anthropologist.
Is that like a podcast or just
this
YouTube?
This is a YouTube, and then he does have like podcast as well. I haven't really gotten into those, but I'm interested in it.
Yeah.
And what like made you become so interested in it? Just like out of curiosity, or just because like it felt like something you related to, or?
Yeah, and I think I related to some parts, but it was more interesting to kind of have to be able to play with thoughts about religion and philosophy. Coming from such a strict kind of household within that religion, it's fun to even kind of dive outside of that, especially when I was that age.
What are your beliefs now? Like, you grew up a Mormon.
Yeah.
Are you still a Mormon?
I am not.
You are not. So what are your beliefs now?
I don't subscribe to any religion.
Okay.
That's a loaded question.
It really is. There's a lot going on there.
I just kind of wanted to get a sense of.
He really just dove right in.
Yeah. Yeah. I just wanted to get a sense of where you're at now compared to like the upbringing that we're talking about.
So I'm not Christian. I don't subscribe to anything, but I'm not Christian. I don't believe that there's a creator God that exists. I don't really have, I don't necessarily do any rituals or anything, so I'm just non-religious.
Okay. So you said you kind of, there's this community aspect to religion.
Yeah.
You talked about how that kind of is, it's how people, they kind of form their opinions and experiences kind of within that community, have the same type of experiences. So being in that, what made the breakaway kind of start to happen? Was it those YouTube videos? Was it like this probably sounds like I'm interrogating you.
Maybe a little bit.
I'm totally I have no problem with what you believe.
We swear he's a nice guy.
Yeah. I'm just out of pure curiosity.
No, I think that's fair. I mean, it's deeper topic, deeper subject matter, but I think that's like it makes it more open for conversation because of that. So
yeah.
So
it's okay,
curiosity.
So when I was 12, 13 is when I kind of fell out of the LDS church, and then
Did you just stop going, or were you just like, I don't know if this is right for me?
my first initial thought that gave me big questions. Of course I had thoughts about belief at some point, but this one was actually related to community. I was on my way home, and I thought, there's no space for me in this religion because of mental illness. They don't talk about it. They don't support it in any way that's very apparent. I didn't have a home there.
When you say that, is it that you didn't feel comfortable opening up about it in that environment, or that it was actively dismissed?
Yeah, I think both are true, and the reason I wouldn't be comfortable opening up about that is, one, I knew that it wouldn't be, nothing would change within the community itself, and my family they're very open about mental illness, and even their interactions with the church were never about it. So I know through that I'm not going to be seen in any way that's impactful because of it.
Obviously, you got some of that from your family. But do you talk to any of like your friends that are still like affiliated with the religion, or does like, I don't know, does either mental health and or religion come up in your conversations with your like the people that you socialize with?
Yeah, a lot actually. I don't have any friends from when I was growing up within the church that were also Mormon. I don't have any friends in that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the closest would be I had this friend when I was kind of falling out of the religion, and I think he was still in it, but we were in a homeschool group together, so it was kind of that adjacent. We weren't really there for religious reasons, but it was kind of an undertone. He I don't want to go too much into him, but he has a very complex relationship with religion, and that's part of the reason we talk about it a lot.
Mm-hmm. Is this the friend that you said you were having a conversation about like religion like the other day or something? Like,
so that one was Anthony.
Okay. Do you mind sharing that, like what you guys talked about?
Yeah. So we'll send memes back and forth about religion.
Okay.
Most of them are plain coy, tongue-in-cheek about the LDS Church. So I sent him one that wasn't necessarily about the Mormon Church, but it was more of a bag on Christianity as a whole, and how maybe from reducing it to the most simple terms, it can maybe seem a little ridiculous. And I don't think he was too fond of the video because he's Christian.
Oh no.
So he doesn't like the LDS Church, and he's openly against it, but he's Christian and he's very reserved, and maybe gets a little offended over these things. So he said, like, I don't even remember, something, he had some problem with it or something, and I go, well, yeah, of course you have problems with it, it's a joke. And part of the reason I said that is because before he was making some out-of-pocket jokes, so I was kind of paying him back a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And he tried to kind of steer the conversation into a serious way, and I don't even know if he meant to ask this, but it was like, what are your problems with the video? Like, where do you see this fall apart? And I kind of explained it over text, and he, I think he replied, let me be clear, in the Obama voice. I think that was his reply. And next time we talked, like in a call, he said he didn't get my answer, and he wanted to like talk about it. And I kind of told him my answer, and he was like, "Oh, okay." And then like he really wanted to talk about my beliefs. He's a real prior, you know, like
Mm-hmm.
you tell him one piece of information, he's got to know the whole thing.
Yeah.
So we talked about that for a little bit. He was not very good at kind of sussing out what I believe, and I think for at least part of the conversation, he was almost trying to sell me on Christianity, which I thought was really funny. He's saying, you know, like, why aren't you Christian? And then he would kind of give some reasons, maybe why you would want to be Christian, or however you present the argument. But
Yeah.
he was kind of trying to sell me on it. I don't remember what the question was.
No, I wanted to know what your conversation was with him, and that kind of like proves my point of like, do you think I mean, I'm sure that's not the first time that's happened to you, but do you think after experiences or interactions like that going forward, is it going to be harder to talk, like does that make like kind of defer you from wanting to talk about religion with people? Because I'm like, sometimes it does yield like uncomfortable responses from people, even if like they're your close friends. Like it's a touchy subject, and I think that is a hard thing, is people want to be able to talk about it without it coming across as like, yeah, you're like trying to sell them on like what you believe, and like, oh, I know I'm right, like this is like the right way to live. And it just like, it becomes kind of this I don't know, like taboo almost, even though, but like not, because we talk about it like a lot. Like I feel like we have like a lot of conversations with like at work, and I was just saying like today, like I literally just had a conversation with Nathan today about this for like an hour. And so I think I don't know, I think it's like really interesting. But does that like change, like do you feel like it's something that you're still interested in even though you don't affiliate yourself with the religion? Do you like talking with people about it?
I love it.
Okay, yeah, I do. Yeah.
I love it. It's like my favorite. He was just kind of being weird about it. He's just not easy to talk to about those things, but it's my favorite to talk about religion.
Okay, well, my other thing was like, do you have any like theories or any, I don't know, experiences that you wanted to share? from
what
other
do you
things.
mean by theories? What does theories
No,
mean
so
in
my
the context of
Conspiracy
religion?
theories. Do
Yeah.
you believe in the Illuminati?
A little bit.
Exactly. Thank you, Dane. Dane gets where I'm going. No, so I don't know, or is there anything like specific that you haven't like alluded to with your like upbringing or anything like that that you wanted to share? Like even if you don't, I guess, believe in the religion that you were raised in now, do you remember ever having like spiritual experiences while being in that, or?
Yeah,
Or
I
any
do.
spiritual experience like whatsoever.
Yeah.
in anything.
Yeah. I think one that comes to mind was actually, it may have actually been the same day that I thought I don't have space in your religion. I was in deacon's meeting,
Yeah.
and everyone was very calm. And at the end, the teacher said, "Don't you guys feel the spirit right now? Like it's really nice." And yeah, I did. Of course, I can rationalize that, but that was a spiritual experience, and that was one that was within the Mormon Church.
Yeah, that's a great example. Like, I think that's exactly what I was getting at. Is I think sometimes it's hard for people to draw or like, I don't know if justify is the word, but like make sense of like I feel this way, but I don't believe in this or something like that. And so I realize like the older I get and the more I talk to people, that's like a very common thing. Like people trying, kind of like what you're saying, like trying to rationalize like what is this that I'm feeling if I don't like have that sense of like a surety with everything that is being taught in this like religion or like in like anything in life, honestly. Like,
Was it something, I don't know if anything like that happens or has happened recently, but was that something that you almost were trying to resist in a way? Like you feel that, but you also don't believe in what you're feeling. And so is there some part of you that's like that kind of was conflicted over that, or?
Not at all. It's an enjoyable feeling. And if everything else about the Mormon church is true, that piece of community isn't right for me. So even if it is 100% true and I felt the spirit and everything, A-okay, within that room, I couldn't be me.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't be worth it to myself to attach myself to the beliefs that I maybe still held, if it's going to come at the cost of not being able to be in the community.
yeah.
Okay,
I think that's reasonable. That's kind of like what I was saying, but on the flip side of it, like I think that like has almost been like my parents at least feeling that sense of belonging was like enough of a like what's the word, deciding factor for them. But it goes both ways. It's like on the opposite side. If it's like if you didn't feel that, that's enough to like make you not, or just to make it not appealing, I guess. So
Yeah.
I totally understand.
Yeah, I think a lot of people actually like tend to struggle with the community, specifically in Utah. I think it can be a big struggle, and I feel like I can say that I'm from Utah Valley. And so like I feel like I've definitely had like my struggles with that community as well. But like how do you, I don't know what I'm getting at with this. More or less like, do you see people struggling more like from an outside perspective now? Do you see like more people within the church here struggling with the community or with the doctrine itself, do you think?
Because I don't have many LDS friends, it's hard
Or
for
your
me to see.
family?
Mm-hmm.
But my mother and father are LDS. My sister Natalia is not. She's very aligned with me.
Okay.
And then I have my sister Cami, and I cannot pin down what she believes.
Okay.
I know that she's not in favor of the LDS church, but I can't really tell. And then there's
Mhm.
my brother David, which like sometimes he seems Christian, sometimes he doesn't, but like, and he might still be
Maybe
in the
but-
Mormon church to some degree, but
Similar.
I have no idea.
Okay.
I do see in the community, I think there's kind of two sides. There's one where people will grapple with it, and it'll be challenging, and they may end up believing. And there are other people that I think, instead of in any way questioning or feeling rejection in any way for the church, they kind of just strengthen their resolve and power through it.
I think that's true for sure. Because I see that, and it's like it's hard to, kind of speculate on what somebody else believes without them being able to put it into words themselves. But yeah, I think sometimes people just don't know what they really believe, and they'll kind of just, like what you said, like power through to get to a point where they feel like, I guess, stable enough in a place where like, okay, I can like live like this even if I don't believe everything.
Yeah.
And I do see that like commonly here, and I'm like, I feel like maybe I've even been in those like positions myself sometimes. I don't know, I haven't lived anywhere really besides Utah like long term, so I can't say about that, but do you feel like there's like enough like interfaith dialogue in Utah, or not so much?
If I were completely up to date on everything, I would say probably not. From my point of view as a person, absolutely not. There's no way.
Yeah. I would say that's probably accurate. Again, yeah, I'm not like delving into this as much as I maybe could be, like, to be completely informed, but I would probably agree with that statement.
That's something I've struggled with as well, and I empathize with kind of your story a little bit, where I've also grown up a member of the church. I didn't go on a mission. I never really related to a lot of the other kids in like my classes and stuff. They're all super big on camping and all that stuff, and I hate camping.
Me
I'm
too.
very indoorsy. So yeah, there's just a lot of like, I don't know, when I didn't go on a mission, there was a period where like family members, the bishop, everyone was kind of just, it was very, very passive aggressive and very like, it felt like I was everyone's project, like everyone was trying to help me, and it was like it wasn't like I had left the church or anything, and it made me feel like there definitely needs to be some openness to not just other religions, but other ways of life within this religion, because that there's definitely not, it's not just a lack of knowledge. It almost felt like a lack of tolerance for, I don't know if that's something you, and I'm not just, I don't want to just sit and bag on the church, but like at the same time, that's kind of my experience, and I don't know if that's kind of what you've had.
I don't think that you're bagging on the church at all. I think that was a bar. I think that was very eloquently a very eloquent way to say that you like the tolerance thing for sure. I also did not go on a mission, but obviously I feel like that's not as much of a, like, it's not as big of a deal, I guess, for like girls, but I've seen that same thing kind of with my cousins. Like my cousin Jacob, I'm really, really close to him, and I know that he has like a very strong testimony in like the LDS church, and like a very well-rounded beliefs, I guess, that are his own and not just based on what his family believes. And he didn't go on a mission. He even then, with all of that, he kind of experienced that same thing of people just like looking at it as like, why? Like there has to be, like some reason. It's not just like without taking into account that it could just be a personal preference kind of thing. So
Yeah.
I would agree. My brother also didn't serve a mission, and both my brother and sister, I think technically they're inactive. My sister might have erased her records. I could be wrong. And then my mom still goes to church, and my dad, I have no clue, if I'm being honest. I think he might be inactive, but I'm not for sure. And sometimes it can be like difficult for them to have conversations with my mom, because my mom, like, she loves them to death, right? But it's just like this is something she strongly believes and wants them to believe, and sometimes they feel a little bit like angry, if that makes sense, like a little bit resentful, which is totally like, I can totally see their viewpoint after what we've gone through. But I think one thing that really bugs me though with the interfaith dialogue thing, like then my sister goes and talks about how she is like, I really like the idea of like Buddhism and like being reincarnated, and I was like, I don't think you understand that, like, to them that's suffering. Like, she doesn't
Mhm.
fully, like, do the research into other religions, even if she wants to be a part of them. And I'm like, do your research. And, like, no matter what, I feel like religion you want to be a part of, you need to, like, study whatever doctrine they follow or whatever, like, principles and values they have to, like, understand what you're kind of getting into.
Yeah.
Because, like, some people, like, here in Utah, very common to be born into the Mormon church or, like, in other places, different things, right? And so, or it's, like, also just, like, it depends on the part of the world you're in, depends on everything. But just, like, everyone's perspectives are so different on religion. And I feel like in Utah, like, we have one, and a lot of people just stick to it. And it's, like, sometimes, even if you still believe it, you can still believe it, but, like, having like seeing someone else's perspective and being open to it, I feel like is such an important thing that people don't talk about enough. Like, interfaith
Yes, totally.
is not talked about enough here. I don't know. Any
Yeah.
thought?
I think it comes down to that concept, like, especially here, you see this a lot, is, like, ignorance is bliss, and that's kind of like what you're saying is, like, sometimes people will find something about one religion that they don't like, and they'll start to be like, okay, I don't know, like, maybe this one is more for me, but without, like, doing, it's just because it has more, like, appealing, I guess, surface level things about it.
Yeah, if you don't do the research, it seems nice on the top.
Right.
But,
Yeah.
like, every religion has its problems,
And I think,
I feel like. Maybe
yes.
I could be wrong.
No, I think that's true, and I think that the kind of, like, the deeper stuff that maybe people don't realize, or that they don't know through doing, or that they don't know because of lack of research, kind of comes out when you're having, like, these kind of conversations with, like, friends or family, or just people close to you, or literally, like, I mean, in our case, like, somebody off the street because of where we live, but, like, and then I think that's why it's kind of, like, a weird thing to talk about, because it's, like, those truths, I guess, come out, like, during what the religion is maybe really about, like, what one person practices versus another. Like, you don't really find that out until you're talking about it. And
So going along with that, like, do you feel like sometimes do you ever talk to your parents about religion?
Hints here and there,
Okay.
but generally, absolutely not.
Okay. And that's just because it feels a little bit uncomfortable with them, or different reason?
I just they're very LDS, and I don't think me saying anything would be helpful in any way, any direction.
Okay.
I don't think it would validate me or help me connect with them in any way. So I just don't. If it comes up, I'm not scared to talk about it. But it just doesn't really need to come up for our relationship to work.
Good. That's actually great to hear.
I really like that, yeah. Were there issues when you initially left? Was that something you talked to your mom about? Was that just one Sunday you were like, I don't want to go to church? Like, were there issues? And that's probably way too personal, but again, just out of curiosity,
Mhm.
like Dave mentioned, like with her siblings, how her mom is trying to reconvert them, for lack of a better phrase. I don't know if that's the case. Reignite the flame or whatever. But I don't know, was that kind of something that you guys had to work through, or is that something that they were really cool with? I'm
curious about that too, because, like, I know some of, like, my past friends have kind of the way that they've explained it, they're falling away from the LDS religion, I guess, is they kind of just, like, phasing out the church attendance. That's kind of where it starts. That's from what I hear. That's the most common response to that. But, like, yeah, how, if you don't mind sharing, like, how was that for you?
So to touch on that, I didn't just, like, leave the church. I kind of had that thought around 12 or 13, and then I didn't go back. And then, of course, I'm conflicted, and I still don't know if... And I think I figured out pretty early on the community's not for me, but that still didn't tackle my beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to work through that. But as for my mom, she's amazing. And if she did notice right away, which I don't think that she did, she probably didn't notice for a long time, if really ever until my adult relationship with her, she wouldn't ever judge me or want me to go. Well, she'd want me to go back, but she wouldn't try to convince me or anything about it. It would just be, oh, that's what you want to do, you do that.
That's so awesome.
It really is.
That's great to hear.
Yeah.
Like, that's the support you want to see from people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think a lot of times people think that they're trying to help. Like, I know when I see a really awesome movie, all I want to do is, come on, just watch it, please. You
Jurassic
love
Park?
it. Yeah, oh, I love Jurassic Park. You know, and you know, some people probably just aren't interested in dinosaurs. It's just kind of like, you know, that doesn't take away from your experience, and I just think a lot of more people need to realize that, because there's a lot of joy and happiness and peace to be found within this church. I've found a lot of joy, happiness, and peace in this church, but then, yeah, but it feels like almost none of that has been from the community. So, yeah, I totally get that, and I guess I'm curious, like, you said you loved talking about religion. What is your, I don't know if we're talking about it now, or like, what is your favorite, like, thing to talk about with religion?
Pretty much anything, but usually the more personal, philosophical things about it. Like, if we talk about, you know, the politics of the LDS Church, that's very interesting, but I'm more curious about the person I'm talking to.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like the personal anecdotes of how they got to where they're at.
Yeah, or, you know, what they think about different pieces. You know, if we're talking about the politics, okay, well, what do you think about these politics? How does that impact your belief if you are in the church?
Right.
Yeah. I know, I feel like regardless of where the conversation with religion starts, it usually opens a lot of other doorways, and I feel like that's something that kind of just insinuates this, like, natural curiosity in whoever, I think both the person asking the questions and the person answering the questions. But yeah, I agree. Like, I think it's become one of my favorite things to talk about with people too, for sure.
I feel like it's interesting for me because I know so little about it. Like, even within my religion, I've never been one to really just dive into the Book of Mormon or the Bible and study, and I've never really been one to care a ton about the church history as well, and so it's interesting for me to just learn more about it, because I mean, I don't really have a lot to provide that's why I love doing this podcast too, is I don't really have much to provide, but it's cool hearing what just learning about different religions. I guess I was gonna ask you, are your beliefs now, are they set in stone? Are you still working through that? Is that still something you're, like, open to changing, or is that not necessarily to back to the Mormon church, but to, like, anything else? Because you kind of said you didn't say atheist, but you said you were kind of more on the just non-religious side of things.
Yeah, I mean, I'd consider myself agnostic.
Okay.
I'm open in a lot of ways, and of course something really big happens, I'm going to be open to it. I'm not going to reject, you know, some experience that happens or something like that. But I think what's more likely for me is that I'm going to hold the beliefs that I have now, and they might get tweaked over time.
Was there ever a time, like, maybe generally around when you first, like, left the church, where you were like, oh, I wonder about this one or about this one? Or were you just like, oh, not that one? Like, did you ever look into anything else, or were like, not really?
I never looked at anything necessarily for religion. I would not want to necessarily turn to another one right away. I'm not, there wasn't a hole I needed to fill with religion in me. There was definitely a hole without it there, but it didn't feel like religion was something to fill it. And of course, we're in Logan, Utah. I don't know how many other places I can really get some religion.
Yeah, that's true.
There's a Catholic church right by my apartment, but other than that,
that's kind of true. Yeah, we don't really have, like, a ton of, like,
We have a lot of Christian
diversity
churches.
here.
Well, I'd have to go, you know, seek it out.
For sure.
And most of the time with, like, those kind of churches, I've noticed that their beliefs are pretty much the core are the same, but they differ so much within each church. It wouldn't be just picking a religion. and of course I don't, not of course, but I personally don't think you can just like pick a religion. I'm not sure that's really up to you. But it'd be hard to shop around for a new one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, going back to me knowing absolutely nothing about religion, what does it mean to be agnostic?
So, I'm not atheist, which means I think there's no God.
Okay.
I'm not saying there isn't a God or there is a God. If there is something that might be godlike that exists, it exists, and I don't deny it because I don't know.
Like, almost like an energy.
It could be anything. I could be agnostic and end up finding out that Buddhism is the right religion. That wouldn't be necessarily for me, but anyone who is agnostic, that might be just a chance.
Well, that's interesting. So you're not like denying God. You're kind of open to whatever one, like, I don't know, proves believable, I guess? Or
I
like,
think in every religion, every god, and of course there's religion with no
God.
one god, monotheistic god. Whatever their structure is, I think there's almost no chance any of it's correct. If any of it is correct, it's maybe in some places here or there. But I don't think humans could make a religion and then keep it true. Even if they found everything to be true, by now humans would have messed it up.
Yeah, take this with a grain of salt, but there's like something that my cousin would always say to me, because I know it, like, you kind of have to let it sink in because it does sound a little like weird at first, but he would just say like the church is perfect, the people aren't. So whatever, and I think that can be kind of translated to whatever church you want it to be about, but you have to take into account that the doctrine started somewhere and it has more likely than not changed along the way because of the way that just like the way that things the times have changed, and then the way that people have like passed that down.
And of course I'm speaking hypothetically in that someone found the religion at some point and then worked through it. But I think when you think about it, humans go the whole way back to the start of the religion. There's no like with the Mormon Church. Okay, so this is fairly new. This church is fairly new. So let's say everything from before the church was like somewhat true. Okay, well, you're not an LDS member until it exists. And now is it more true than it was before?
That's a good point.
A lot of sense.
Yeah, because it's like official at that point, I guess.
Yeah. So if you lived before the church, and I know part of the church does believe things that happened in the past. You could be part of this church before, and it's the same church.
Yeah.
At what point is it true again if it wasn't true at some point? So
You're breaking
now
my brain.
The LDS church is true, right? According to this,
Yeah.
this hypothetical.
Yes.
So if you're not in the LDS church, you're wrong, right? Like
Yes.
within this framework.
Yes.
So at what point did it switch? Was it right when Joseph Smith found the plates that now you have to be Mormon to be part of the right church? Was it gray? Is it binary? I don't know. At what point is it decided?
Yeah. That's like actually like insane. I've never thought about it like that.
I haven't either.
Wow.
I do
okay.
know that like it's technically like most like religious things like this. I'm pretty sure, I could be off. Please correct me if I'm wrong. But it's like most, not religions, but groups like that are considered to be a cult until they have been, until they're 200 years of existence, and then they're considered like a religion. I've heard that.
What?
That could be so wrong.
Well, I mean,
No, I believe that. I mean, that
like,
kind of tracks.
Technically, like, it takes a minute for them to be considered like a full-on religion in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, that kind of was a thought that popped in while you were talking about that. So
Yeah.
I'm like, oh.
Well, with that line of thinking, if you're LDS and you just happen to exist prior to that, would being in a cult be the truest religion there is?
Yeah, it's like going back to that.
And for some of the people who were in the Mormon church, and if you're looking from the outside in, it was a cult. And those people were in the right church if you're thinking of the framework that it is true.
Yeah. I'm gonna like write this down so I can like re-visualize this, but like that's actually like very weird. But I think you make a good point of like when you're saying that you can't just like go shopping for a religion, because
Yeah.
it's like at one point like they're not so different that it'd be like such an easy decision to just be like, oh, I want this instead of this. It's kind of like, what parts of it do you believe more? So it's like, I know like I think I mean I'll be honest, I don't know a ton about other religions, but one of the things that kind of designates or sets apart the LDS religion is the way that the like is it the way that the Trinity is defined? Do you guys know? Is that kind of
Like,
So-
the Mormon church defines it as the Godhead,
Mm-hmm.
whereas other, like, at least Christian religions call it the Trinity.
Okay, yeah.
And, like, it can get really, like, some people call it very gray area. I know, like, most Mormons, it's a very, very, very similar definition. But to a lot of people outside, they're like, no, it's a completely different definition. So it just depends on your perspective, just like
Mhm.
with everything, right?
Yeah.
So,
But from my perspective, if I'm shopping for a religion, I think that's pretty far down on my list of things I might be looking for. I think that minute difference wouldn't change much. I think what would make me believe in a religion is experience. Every Mormon I've talked to about their religion, almost all of them say they've had some experience, and that's why they have their testimony, or why they join the church, or why they stay in it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think if I got all these religions on paper, they'd be appealing at all. The only piece that would be appealing, I think, is community.
Yeah,
And you get that in almost every religion.
Yeah. What
Yeah.
makes these rituals so different, if you're maybe even getting the same benefit to yourself? You're praying for, in Christianity, and you're praying in the LDS church, you're still praying to God.
Yeah.
And if you're in one or the other religion, it's the same God from the perspective of you being in the religion. It's the one true God.
I think at the end of the day, that's what religion is. It's more about like how it makes you feel in comparison to the things that you're practicing, versus, I don't know, I guess like whatever I just said, I don't know, but yeah, like that. It's more about how it makes you feel, not like what, because you're right, like if you like wrote down all the like little constituents, and I think that goes back to like why people don't want to dive into it more, is because then it starts to become a little like controlling, I guess is a good word. Like they feel they don't like that. So I think people that that I've talked to as well, like that, feel like they have a very like a stronghold in their religion, is because they're basing it off of faith and experience. Yeah.
So, my mom grew up Lutheran. She was in Iowa. She grew up Lutheran. She went to college, and at some point in her life, she had the realization that church wasn't true. There was some piece of it that was wrong. She did religious studies for a couple years, and then she stumbled upon the Mormon religion. She had some spiritual experience throughout that, maybe I think it was through the Book of Mormon that she did, and that's how she was kind of claimed to the religion. There was she had so many to pick from. So many. I don't think she was looking at the benefits. She was trying to find experience.
I have a question.
Okay.
I'm just still curious. Like, so is the difference between being agnostic and being atheist is that they're open to the idea of there being something, whereas atheists are just science?
My thought here is there's this circle. Every single religion's on the outside, and atheism's out here too. It's a strong belief.
Mm-hmm.
Agnosticism is in the middle. You can be anywhere within this bubble, and you're still agnostic. It's such a blanket term; it means almost nothing.
Oh, okay.
That's a good way to describe that. I didn't actually know that either. That
You could be
Sim-
agnostic,
simplifies it.
atheist. You know, you can call yourself whatever you want. And that if someone said that, I would get the idea that they don't believe in a God, but they're not going to reject the fact that there isn't. You know, they just don't know.
So agnostic is kind of like an adjective that you could use in combination with the things that you maybe believe.
If you want to, why not?
Yeah. Okay.
I've heard it before, so
Yeah. Yeah, there was more that came out of that than I ever would have expected, for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
And
I
religion
agree.
opened that door, so.
I don't know what us two were expecting, but probably not this.
Editing this is going to be a chore.
I thought you were going to say, choice.
I-
No, it won't be.
No, it won't
No. Of course.
I
not.
personally believe it will be.
Okay.
I think in 2 ways it won't be because you kind of have to get this done.
All right.
I mean, you want the
Deadlines,
grade?
deadlines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you can also
All right.
choose.
All right, Kay, this conversation's over. Thank you, Joel, for joining us
Yep.
today on Religion Pigeon and giving us your thoughts and helping us to see a different perspective on religion that we don't normally see.
Yeah.
It was very great. I enjoyed it.
I had a lot of fun.
Thanks for coming on the show. It was enlightening. Truly.
Listeners, if you could follow us on Instagram, Twitter. Do we have YouTube?
We do not.
We don't have YouTube. But if
Get
you could
right
follow
in
us
there.
there, that'd be awesome.
Yep. And thank you
And,
all for listening and have a
Right up
great
there.
night.
Have a good
Night.
one.
Oh, yes.
Out.
Peace out.
Out.